Good morning, everyone. Oh. I didn't mean to yell at you. Yeah, extra coffee. Welcome to the January 26, 2024 meeting of the Tennessee Public Charter School Commission. A link to view this meeting was provided on the Commission's website for the public to view at their convenience. To start, Hayden, will you please take a roll call?
Commissioner Carter.
Here.
Commissioner Griscom.
Here.
Commissioner Levine. Commissioner Patterson.
Here.
Commissioner Eddie Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Lauren Smith.
Present.
Commissioner Tudor.
Here.
Commissioner Woodson. Chairman Richards.
Here.
Chairman, you have 7 members present. Well, 8.
Okay, we have Mr.
We'll have
Levine's
8.
here. He'll be back in.
Yes.
Pursuant to Commission Policy 1.100, Commissioner Woodson has notified myself and Executive Director Stovall of her absence. Hayden, please note this absence is excused for the record. Before we begin, are there any opening comments from any commissioners? None. Today, the Tennessee Public Charter School Commission will hear several presentations from staff, followed by reports from committees that met yesterday. That will be followed by charter agreements, a renewal appeal, and 2 renewal applications. First, we will begin with the in-person public comment. Then we will hear presentation from Director of Authorizing Beth Figueroa on the 2024 calendar mapping. Manager of Strategic Initiatives, Dragine Cummings, will present an update on our strategic plan, and Executive Director Tess Stovall will then present her updates. Following these items, we will take a short recess. We will then move into reports from committees. First, Business Operations will provide us with some budget updates from Director of Finance, Melanie Harrell. We'll then hear several policy updates from the Rules, Policy, and Governance Committee presented by General Counsel Ashley Thomas. And then from the School Performance and Accountability Committee, Beth Figueroa will provide some updates on the 23-24 school year, and Tess will present an amendment petitions from Nashville Collegiate Prep and Rutherford Collegiate Prep. We'll then move on to new charter agreements from American Classical Academy Jackson Madison, Cornerstone Prep Leicester, Empower Memphis, Invictus Nashville, as well as an update on KIPP Antioch Global Middle School's agreement. Tess and Beth will then present a renewal appeal from Rocket Ship Nashville Northeast Elementary. And finally, Tess and Beth will present renewal applications from Leicester Prep and Promise Academy Spring Hill. Are there any questions or comments regarding our agenda? Okay, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Move its approval. Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, and the agenda is approved. The minutes from the meetings held on October 6, 2023 and December 4th, 2023 have been provided. Does anyone have any edits to make regarding the prior minutes before we proceed?
Move their approval.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. The minutes are approved. Now, in accordance with Commission Policy 1.200, we have reserved up to 30 minutes for public comment. Hayden, can you please let us know how many written comments were submitted and introduce any individuals who have been registered for public comment?
Yes, there were 70 written comments submitted, and we have 15 people who have signed up to speak today. First on the list, I'll read the name off, and then if that person is not there, I'll move them to the end. First on the list is Teresa Brown. You have up to 2 minutes to speak. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Teresa Brown. I'm principal at Nashville Collegiate Prep. I want to thank our families that took time, and they're going to be trickling in, that took time today to come get out of work and be here to show their support. I also want to thank our board members that are here. I know Mr. Terrico's here, and I think we have a couple more that are coming. But most importantly, I want to recognize these students. Guys, go ahead and stand up. I brought these students with me today because I wanted them to see what this process looks like. I want them to see like what it means and how you actually fight in a positive way for things that you believe in. And the cutest thing before we got here was one of the kids goes, I said, one day we'll be talking about this at your graduation. And they're like, man, you mean we're making history today? I said, Lord, I hope so. So, Lord, I hope so. But this group also represents a snapshot of what and who we are at NCP. We come from all different nationalities, races, religions, and backgrounds, but when we all come together, we're all Lions. By voting yes to this amendment, you're providing an opportunity for these students to attend a full comprehensive high school in a small setting where they are more than just a number. Without this opportunity, these students are destined to go to an overcrowded 2,000 student F-rated high school, all because of the zip code they live in. By voting yes to this amendment, you allow families the opportunities to choose to be part of a K-12 system where all their children can attend, a place where we gather at football games and basketball games and musicals to cheer on our Lions. NCP will become their community. By voting yes to this amendment, you'll provide these students standing before you and many more opportunities to earn college credits in high school through AP for All and through our Cambridge courses. These students will have opportunities to discover their passions through extracurricular activities like clubs, sports, bands, drama, chorus, you name it. If they want it, we'll work as hard as possible to make that, oh my goodness. Please vote positively for this amendment. That's really fast. All right, thank you, guys. Guys, thank you.
Next, we have Ramel McMurray.
Good morning, Commissioner, Ms. Chairman. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Romel McMurray. I am the Rutherford County Commissioner for District 19, and I stand before you to lend my strong support to a cause that is so close to our hearts and crucial for the future of Rutherford County, and that's the expansion of Rutherford Collegiate Prep. As many of you are aware, RCP has embarked on a journey to provide a high-quality educational opportunity to the students of our beloved county. When RCP was approved in January of 2022 by the Tennessee Public Charter School Commission, it was a milestone that marked the beginning of a promising partnership. Today, I am here to urge the Commission to grant RCP an additional allocation of 195 students. Why is this so important? Let me share some essential facts with you. First, Rutherford County is undeniably one of the fastest growing counties in the great state of Tennessee. The United States Census data paints a clear picture showing a consistent population growth of 2.7% over the last 11 years. With this remarkable growth, the school-age population is also surging, leading the Rutherford County School Board to plan the construction of 6 new schools and expansions to existing ones. The need is undeniable, and we must act swiftly. Currently, our schools are facing overcrowding issues in Rutherford County school system, and we have no time to waste. In preparation for these expansions, our county plans to spend an estimated $1.65 million on 10 double portable classrooms. While this addresses the immediate need, it is not a long-term solution. We need an enduring and high-quality alternative, and that is precisely what Rutherford Collegiate Prep offers. Ladies and gentlemen, this expansion is not just needed, it is critical. It is imperative that we offer our students a high-quality school choice option that is equally important to do so. By granting RCP an additional allocation of 195 students, we are not only investing in our children's education, but also securing the future of Rutherford County. I implore the Tennessee Public Charter School Commission to recognize the urgency of this matter, to heed the voices of our community. Thank you for your time and unwavering commitment to our community's educational well-being. Thank you.
Next, we have Tammy Sharp.
Good morning. I'm afraid I won't be as eloquent as my predecessors, but my name is Tammy Sharp. I'm Chairman Emeritus. Good morning. Good morning, Madam Chairman, and good morning to those who I've spoken with before. This is probably my second time before y'all asking for approval or favor for now Rutherford Collegiate Prep. As my friend Romel, Commissioner Romel said, we're busting at the seams. We now, those of you who are familiar with 24 Waldron Road and Sam Ridley, we now have a neighborhood called Arbortown that they've broken ground on, and there's going to be 10,000 plus units. that means at least 10,000 more people or children are coming to our area, because we used to count 1.3 children per household. It's going to be more than that, and that's an area right out of Davidson County that's already overpopulated, and our schools are at capacity or over capacity in that area. As Commissioner Rommel said, we have over 150, we're approaching 175 portables. And it's just not sustainable. We have to have help. We cannot tax our citizenry enough to build. Nobody wants to do that because it's too onerous. We have too many senior citizens. So I ask for your favor in approving the 200 more seats. And y'all know me, y'all can reach out to me at any time and contact me. And I thank you so much for your time today.
Next, we have Patrick Washington.
Morning. Madam Chairman, members of the board, Executive Director Stovall, to members in the audience, bring you greetings from Promise Academy Charter Schools in Memphis, Promise Academy Spring Hill specifically. Thought long and hard about what I might say today. First of all, I get to live my dream. Next month, the 18th, will be 26 years for me in education. And I stand here today, I was thinking about, like, what would I say? Well, you all may be aware that in Memphis, we had a recent weather event that has closed for 8 days. And last Monday, my phone began ringing around 7 o'clock. And after the second time, I did answer, and this person started talking to me, introduced himself as James. And of course, I did what most of us did. I tried to carry on until I could figure out who this person was. And I was like, so where are you teaching? He said, teaching? No, I'm a student. I was at your school at Spring Hill. I said, oh, that James. You ever had that student? I was like, how did he get my number? He said, your number was still in my mom's phone, and that gives you an indication why he was. I was like, wow. And he began telling me about his life after Promise, and he had transitioned to several schools, and he was talking about at the first high school how he had been jumped and all these things happened. And he was now, and I was like, do you need me to help you find the school? And he was like, he said, no, I'm fine, Dr. Washington. He said, you lose some, you win some, and either way, you still learn. And I looked at the phone and said, James, your vote today gives us an opportunity to continue to provide opportunities for kids like James and others who may not have access to a high-quality school, where not all of the indicators are going to show up in a score, but they're going to leave knowing that they have folks that they can reach back to years later and call and have a friend, have a critical voice, have someone who's going to be in the corner. Your vote today gives us an opportunity to serve kids in North Memphis and Raleigh, be there for them, and make a difference in their lives. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for sharing James' story with me.
Next, we have Jeanette Navarrete. After following that, Fernando Navarrete. Right, next, Jorge Covarrubias. Josefina Bruno. Maria Hernandez. Taba Al-Shahiri. Sarah Van Heel. Etha Mitchell.
Hello, my name is Kenitha Mitchell. I have a daughter in 3rd grade at Rocket Ship Nashville Northeast Elementary School. I'm here today to speak in support of Rocket Ship's charter renewal appeal. My daughter started at a metro school in pre-K. I knew other parents who had their children in charter schools, and I decided I would never send my child to one. But after 3 years in metro schools, she needed more of a challenge. Not only academically, but her emotional and social skills also needed some improvement. She was bringing home A's and B's on her report cards. However, her testing scores never reflected those grades. That's when I decided to give Rocket Ship a shot. My daughter is now doing wonderful in school. She's admitted herself that she can no longer cry to get out of doing her work. They'll give her a break when and if she needs one. However, she's then put right back to doing her work. Her testing scores have started to climb since starting Rocket Ship at the beginning of this school year. She has also matured a lot within the short period of time, and she's actually excited about learning. Her eyes actually light up when she comes home to do her homework, and she's no longer struggling with the homework. The communication with the school is also phenomenal. I know what she's learning. I can communicate with any of the teachers at any time, and they always communicate back and answer my questions. There's also an open door policy, and I feel welcome at all times. If Rocket Ship Charter is not renewed today, I know I will not get the same experience for my daughter at a metro school because we've already tried that. Please let us keep our school where we feel welcome and supported, and thank you for allowing me to speak.
Next is Ariel Graves.
Good morning. My name is Ariel Graves. I live in Davidson County. I work as a special education teacher at Rocket Ship Nashville Northeast Elementary School. I also have 3 children who attend school there. I am here today to speak in support of Rocket Ship's charter renewal appeal. If you saw a rose in the concrete, what would you do? Would you marvel at its beauty? Would you pluck it from the concrete, which would start its untimely demise? Would you provide it with protection and see if more roses grow? Even with its beauty, a rose still has thorns and must be handled with care. Regardless of its beauty, a rose's thorns remind us that not everything is perfect. Its thorns serve as a reminder that even amidst adversity, there is strength and resilience. Therefore, when you see a rose in the concrete, you admire its beauty and perhaps find a way to protect it and nurture in its unlikely environment. 2526 Dickerson Pike is that rose. A renewal not only says that you value 500 plus roses, but you will also protect those roses that grow under our care, that will grow into scientists, engineers, doctors of medicine, education, philosophy, dentistry, inventors, and maybe even politicians. Roses that society has discarded, but they still grow and flourish because the soil that we have here at Rennie, amidst the concrete. The soil is called Rennie Love, where we water our roses with endless empathy, prune them with warm demand, and provide the instructional sunshine they need to bloom. I believe in the incredible work our school is doing and in the nurturing environment we offer through Rennie Love, which is why I've enrolled my 3 sons there. There is no bigger statement of support an educator can make for a school than the choice they make for their own children's education. I ask that you please consider this as you make your decision today. Rocket Ship Nashville Northeast Elementary is a rose that deserves the chance to bloom, to blossom, and continue to be amongst the concrete.
Next, we have Jamaica Smith. Carla Farfan. All right. Moving back to the list, Jeanette Navarrete. Or Fernando Navarrete. Jorge Covarrubias. Josefina Bruno. Maria Hernandez. Taba Al-Shahiri. Sarah Van Heel.
Well, I'm sorry that the people who signed up couldn't speak, but we appreciate every single person who came here in support of whatever position you have on whatever matters before this commission. This commission values the input of the public, particularly the stakeholders, the parents, the students, the teachers, the administrators, and the overall community that surrounds our schools, and we appreciate you all being here. With that, I'm going to close the public comment section and continue with our meeting, but thank you all for being here. Okay, the first item on our agenda is a presentation from authorizing from Beth Figueroa. This is our 2024 calendar mapping presentation. Beth, you're recognized.
Thank you so much, Chair Richards. And so yesterday we spent a lot of time in our school performance and accountability committee talking about just a lot of the different authorizing functions that are going on. And we thought that it would be really timely to provide a high-level overview of kind of how our calendar is laid out and at what commission meetings you can expect to see certain items. Okay, so before you is we meet 4 times per year during our quarterly meetings, and it's really important to kind of think of the things that come before the commission in 3 separate buckets. So first we have items that are coming from the schools that we authorize, and so whether it be our school going through a renewal process or one of our schools going through an amendment petition. Then we have our appeals work, and then we also have just authorizing functions that we bring before you. And so here's just, again, that high-level overview of, for example, in January, expecting to see renewals, amendment petitions, and then there's different authorizing functions that happen during the first quarter that we want to make sure that you guys are up to date on. And same thing with March, July, and October. And so realistically, at each quarterly meeting, you can expect to see many of these items on the agenda. So now I'm going to dive into each specific item and provide just further context for each of them. And so we do at times have special called meetings, and these really occur because specifically when we look at our amendment petitions, we have 60 days after the receipt of a petition to rule on and make a decision related to that amendment. And so in addition to those 4 quarterly meetings that we have scheduled, we also have set aside time in June and December to discuss any amendment petitions that come before you that need to be ruled on. We also occasionally, and this year's a good example, may have a special called meeting for an ASD application. So in February, we're going to be meeting to discuss the Brick Church ASD application. And on occasion, we get renewal appeals or revocation appeals that fall just outside of that regular cycle. So everybody at this point is familiar with the fact that we've put time on your calendar for special called meetings should that be necessary. And then just as a note here, if we hold the special called meeting and we don't actually need that, then we will work to remove those from your calendar. So next, talking about amendment petitions. These are items that are oftentimes on our agenda. And so the reason a school would file an amendment petition would be if they wanted to make a change in their governance. They want to add additional grade levels, as we're talking about with NCP today. They may want to make enrollment changes in academic focus. So these are material changes to their charter agreement. And so they, at that point, file a letter of intent with the commission or their district that authorizes them. And they submit, there's a fall window as well as a spring window for submitting amendment petitions. And so as I previously mentioned, we must rule within 60 days of receipt of that petition. And that's why it's a little bit of a revolving workload for us, because they're continually coming in, whether it be from our schools or from other authorizers in the state, and we receive an appeal on that amendment petition. So whether it be one of our schools that files an amendment petition or a school going through appeal, either of those have to be decided on within 60 days. And so for our Tennessee Public Charter School Commission schools, those generally are going to be special called meetings unless it is mutually agreed upon between the commission and the school to postpone that decision until a regularly scheduled meeting. And then for our appeals work, those are generally going to fall on our March or October meetings, and occasionally even a special called meeting, depending on the urgency. Next, we have renewals as well as renewal appeals. We have actually both on our agenda today, and so we, by April 1st of a school's 9th year of operations, they're going to submit a renewal application to their authorizer. And this is really a year-long process where we are taking to review the renewal application. We're doing a site visit, a public hearing, and then by February 1st of the charter agreement's 10th year, authorizers must make that determination. And so that is why we have Lester Prep and Promise Academy on the agenda, is because by February 1st, we need to make a decision related to their next renewal, 10-year renewal period. And then appeals work, this is, we have Rocket Ship that is also on the agenda today. Those are generally going to be on our January or March meeting, but similar to the amendment applications, we have 60 days that we have to process through the decision on a renewal appeal. Next, we have applications from ASD. So these are schools that were previously operating under the Achievement School District, and they met certain thresholds in order to be able to apply directly to the commission. And so on October 15th, that's when we received the letter of intent from the school expressing interest to come to the commission. November 15th is when that application is due to the commission. And then during the months of January and December and January, that's when commission staff is doing the due diligence, running the process, the public hearing, capacity interview, reviewing those applications. And so these generally will be in January. That's typically when you guys will be making those decisions. However, this year, particularly just given the delay in state accountability data, you will find that we have that special called meeting on February 26th, and that's because we really needed that additional time to work through the application for Lead Brick Church. And so, but generally speaking, those will be in January. Next, we have our New Start application process, and we spend time regularly at commission meetings talking about the New Start applications. And as you are aware, you all take action on those in October, but this process starts long before the October meeting. And so as we speak, this process is already well underway. And so December 10th is when we saw that schools filed their letter of intent to submit an application, and February 1st, the deadline is right around the corner. That's when those that submitted that letter of intent will be filing that New Start application directly with their district. Upon receipt of the New Start application, that's when the district starts running their internal processes. So that will be whatever their process is, capacity interview, review committee, and they have 90 days to rule on that application. If that application is approved, then it's done. As far as the commission is concerned, it's not part of our process any further. But if it is denied initially by that district, then the applicant has 30 days to resubmit that application. And then within 60 days of receipt of the amended application, that's when the district must make a decision on that amended application. This is something that we as staff track regularly. We want to make sure that we're aware of what work may be coming our way. And so if an application is denied, or an amended application, I should say, is denied by a district, then the applicant has 10 days to submit a notice of appeal to the commission. And that's when we start running our process. And so really this work kicks off around July. And July, August, September, we are running our appeal process for New Start applications. And within 75 days, that's when the commission rules on those applications. So as you are familiar with, those decisions are being made in October. And then lastly, when we think of our application process and our appeals work, the other thing I would just make mention of is revocation appeals. And so these are a little bit harder to plan for. They could happen at any point in time from our districts because in accordance with statute, an authorizer can revoke a charter agreement if there are material violations, fiscal mismanagement, or failure to achieve academic expectations. And so some of these items a district may know well in advance that the school is trending that direction. Other times they can happen more quickly. And so if we do receive a renewal appeal, we have 60 days to act upon the revocation appeal with 60 days to work through that process. And so whether it be one of our schools or a school or a school that's appealing through a local district, we could be receiving those at any time. And then lastly, I would just want to talk about the other authorizing functions. And so these are items that are going to be regularly put on agendas, and that's because quality authorizing standards, we want to make sure that that we are keeping commissioners informed about how our schools are progressing throughout the year. And so, as we talked about yesterday, we conduct site visits on a rolling basis throughout the year. We want to make sure that we are providing a high-level overview of how our schools are performing. We also have interim reviews, and these are a high-stakes process where we are taking a more critical look at our schools, and at that point we determine whether they are on track or off track for renewal. And so this is a really important touch point for our schools because they're halfway through their charter agreement, and so it's really important that we're starting to set them up for whatever the decision's going to be come their renewal at year 10. And so the results of interim reviews are generally going to be reported out during March meeting. Then we have our authorizer evaluation process. This is, we do a self-assessment biannually, and then we're formally evaluated on those other years. And so we will generally have the results of our authorizer evaluation in January and March. And then lastly is our annual report. And so we really aim to have our annual report, even though it has to be produced by January 1 in accordance with rule. This year specifically, just due to just the delay in state accountability data, there are still items under embargo, and so our hope is that at our March meeting we will have that. Though generally we really do work to report out our school's performance, and it's all based on our school performance framework. So it will include schools' academic, financial, organizational performance, and we really work to have that by January. So at this time, I will just pass it back to Chair Richards, and happy to answer any questions.
Do any commissioners have any comments or questions? Well, Beth, thank you for this presentation. I wanted everyone to have a sense of what's coming our way in the calendar and also gain a little better understanding of how the schools that are moving out of the ASD process impact our schedule, because at this point in time, a lot of the schools that were originally put in the ASD are reaching the end of their original charter terms, and they will be headed in our way possibly, so folks need to be aware of the likelihood of that happening. Aren't any comments or questions? We're going to go ahead to an update on our strategic plan. I want to recognize Drejine Cummings to provide an update for us.
Good morning. Drejine Cummings, Manager of Strategic Initiatives. So for quarter 2, we are on schedule and making progress towards our benchmarks for 23-24. We sat and talked as a team through highlights and areas of challenge for the past few months, and I'll talk through some highlights to give you all a better sense of what on track means for us. As you all know, our strategic priorities are the compass guiding our effort to better serve our schools, and our progress towards them really are one of the ways that we hold ourselves accountable. Something new that we've done this quarter that I'm really excited about is incorporating into our review a risk assessment. We decided to include this because, as you all know, charter work is inherently risky. And we really wanted to be proactive in thinking about, what are those things that pose a risk for our work, and what can we do to kind of get ahead of that. As I move on throughout the presentation, you'll hear me provide some updates for each priority, and then talk through what are those things that we identified as a risk, and what are we doing to address those. So our first strategic priority, one of the biggest highlights has been the team's pivoting in response to the delay in the accountability timeline. This impacts several work streams, but the team has been really responsive and made changes as appropriate. For example, the authorizing team has shifted the timeline for the annual report, as Beth mentioned, as a result of this delay. As a team, we identified here a risk, and that's portfolio performance. One of the things that we talked about as a team is that our role as an authorizer is to hold our schools accountable to their results and not just their implementation. I think this is something that as a team we've all communicated to our schools, and we will continue to communicate to them. As a team, we've been actively engaged in ongoing self-assessments and growth initiatives during this quarter as a means of continuous improvement. In addition, as Nate mentioned yesterday, our positioning with TM Pulse has improved, and we've also addressed issues related to special populations. These are just a few of the highlights for this priority area. So the identified risk in this priority area includes our increased number of schools. As was mentioned by Commissioner Smith and Carter yesterday, we understand that as the number of schools in our portfolio increases, there's a need for us to focus on adapting for scaling. We are currently engaged in that each day. Shout out to Executive Director Stovall for thinking about that. Thinking through solutions for not just the near term, but for what sets us up for success in the future as an agency. Moving on to strategic priority 3, I'd like to highlight how we continue to engage with our stakeholders and provide opportunities to hear directly from them. Commissioners will notice that several of our processes include talking directly to our stakeholders to hear what they need and to get their feedback on what we're doing. We're always looking for additional ways to do that, and the panel yesterday, I think, was a great example of how we continue to provide opportunities to have them with us and have you all hear directly from them. So a risk that we identified for strategic priority 3 is an unclear role of the commission in the larger charter landscape. I think as a still relatively new agency, we struggle sometimes with communicating with stakeholders about who we are and what we do. One of the things that I can say about our team is that we are really proactive in communicating and educating those, and we provide multiple opportunities for districts, LEAs, stakeholders, anyone in the public who wants to know about what we do. And I can say that we've done a really good job, and shout out to the team for doing that. So for our final priority, we do plan to submit our FY25 budget with additional support, and we're also prepping for the upcoming legislative session, which includes a few commissioner confirmations as well. One risk that we identified here is an increased budget and fiscal management. We want to be sure that we are being prudent with our funds and that we maintain strong oversight as our budget continues to grow each year. The final risk that we identified here is just continuing to support the work of our commissioners. As you all know, our workload increases each year, and we want to be sure that we take the responsibility to make sure that you all are prepared and engaged to do the work. As Beth mentioned yesterday, there are a lot of documents, lots of moving pieces, and we're always thinking about ways and different strategies to support you all as we do this work. So moving forward, I'll plan to keep you all updated on just kind of where we are with our strategic plan. I'll also continue to include risk assessment updates as we meet as a team. And then finally, as mentioned yesterday, happy to support any visioning work or anything like that that we may do in the future. So, and with that, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much for that thorough report and also explaining the delays that we've been having to face because of the slower release of accountability data to all of our schools and to us. So I appreciate your hard work and your willingness to undertake future opportunities. Do any commissioners have comments or questions? All right, hearing none, we will proceed on to recognizing our Executive Director, Tess Stovall, for her update.
Thank you, Chair Richards. And I have a brief update for you all to talk through what we're really focusing on for 2024. So first wanted to start with carrying off of what Beth shared about our upcoming meetings and share some additional details based on feedback that we got at our last commission meeting about location. So first, we do have a special called meeting that will be virtual on February 26th to handle one agenda item, which is the application from Lead Brick Church from the ASD. Then our next meeting in person is March 21st, 22nd. That will be in Nashville. I do want to note, and you will be reminded of this, but we will be in the Tennessee Tower, so not this location. The reasoning is that the Department of General Services is updating the IT in this conference room. We were joking earlier, we can't wait for additional outlets. Hopefully that comes with the IT upgrade. But because of that, we're not able to use this conference room in March. So we will be in the Tennessee Tower. More information about that location coming up. We will handle any approval of charter agreements. We will also have our general counsel who does our annual open meetings, open records, conflict of interest refresher for the commissioners. As well as I do want to name that Memphis Shelby County Schools is voting on renewal applications next week. So if Memphis Shelby County Schools denies any of their renewals and they then appeal to us, we would then be hearing renewal appeals not only at today's meeting, but also at our March meeting. We do have a special called meeting held on June the 10th. Virtually to handle any business that may require action before the July meeting. As Beth shared, if we do not have any business, we will be pulling that down. Next, we will have our July 25th, 26th meeting in Chattanooga. And we look forward to Commissioner Griscom hosting us and all the highlights of Chattanooga. I do want to thank the Tennessee Board of Regents, and particularly Chattanooga State, who were very excited to offer us a location and partner with us. So we're very excited to be in Chattanooga for July meeting. We'll do an FY25 budget approval. We'll also discuss and prime you all for New Start application season, as well as Hayden will give a 2024 legislative session overview. Our October meeting will be in Nashville. As we all have discussed, that is the New Start appeal meeting. And we, I think we've all discussed being in Nashville, particularly from the staff perspective, for a meeting where there's a lot of materials is most conducive to that meeting. So we'll be back in Nashville. We do have a special call meeting again held December the 2nd for any commission business that requires action. And the final thing that I wanted to note and wanted to get a kind of a general thumbs up, thumbs down, and one of the things Chair Richards and I discussed is whether or not we want to think about our January 2025 meeting, so this meeting that we're having, to be in Memphis. Seeing that, it will be over a year and a half since we had the opportunity to be back in Memphis, and if the January 2025 meeting date to be determined, if you all would be open to us looking to a Memphis location for that meeting. Getting some head nods, so we will move forward in that direction. Commissioner Patterson, Commissioner Tudor, weather permitting. Okay. Weather permitting.
I'm gonna say, can we also add water permitting?
Yes, water and weather permitting. And the final part of my update is just a preview of our 2024 legislative session and the things that Hayden and I are going to be focusing on. First, we do have 3 commissioners that are up for confirmation. So Tom, Chris Richards, and Lauren are up for confirmation. We'll be back on the Hill February the 7th. And then we also have upcoming scheduled budget hearings. So we have our budget hearing in front of Senate Education, as well as our House Finance and Ways budget hearing coming up in March. So we will keep you all abreast. If you do have any questions or concerns throughout legislative session, would encourage you to reach out directly to Hayden so that he can be aware of any questions you have, or keep you all updated on the comings and goings of the legislature. And with that, I will turn it back to Chair Richards for any questions.
Are there any comments or questions? Yeah.
So let me thank you for deciding on Chattanooga, because I think what we'll find interesting is every charter school in Chattanooga is part of the school system. And that's been sort of unique to see. But we've also got a school, I think as Tess knows, that started sort of the nature outdoor. I think that'd be interesting to see since we've got one now. But then the Chattanooga Prep, which is the school that just came to Knoxville, and then a Montessori school that's just opened. So I appreciate you coming, because I think there are some models in Chattanooga of different schools that we see that are part of our portfolio or may be coming. They'll be good. And then to just have, like I said, an opportunity in a county where I think we're fortunate that understands the benefits of charter schools. So thank you all for deciding to do that, and we will have a great time in my hometown.
Well, we appreciate the help you gave in getting us an accommodation from the people who are going to help sponsor our location. So thank you so much. We're looking forward to it. Chattanooga sounds great in July. All right, we're going to take a short 10-minute recess, and then we will come back with committee reports.
Okay.
Yes. I feel like I've like talked to you. You're scared. Yeah. How are you? Nice to see you.
Oh, baby. How you doing, partner? How was dinner last night? Did you go with the group?
No, I had to decompress. I was relaxing. Oh, hit you.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I had a boule meeting, so I missed the last three.
I know, I hadn't seen you at dinner in a while.
Yeah, no. It's just too many of these evening meetings just kill me.
What part of the city do you live in?
I live on the Franklin area, so
Okay.
yeah, near Brentwood.
Okay.
So right off of Old Hickory Boulevard, in Percy Warner Park. So
I'm familiar with Franklin.
yeah.
I've,
So if you were to go 40, or you're going home, 40 west,
yeah.
you take the Old Hickory Boulevard exit
Okay.
on 40 west, and
Is
so
that before it, you know how it widens into
Mhm.
like 3?
yeah, okay.
Maybe it's
It's-
before. It's just before that. You know what I'm talking about? It's like
Yeah.
when you're leaving.
It's
like
three.
4 lane for a while.
It's 3 or 4 lanes all the way, really almost from downtown. So that's what I'm trying to.
It's like it widens and then it shrinks. It looks like they're
Okay.
doing construction, like they're about to put
On 40 west.
overpass. Looks like it.
I'm about.
So how long does it take you to get in here? Probably about 40 minutes.
No, it didn't take that long. It takes, depending on traffic, of course, right? But if there's no traffic, I can be here in 25 minutes. So it's not bad at all. By the time I leave my house, well, to physically get here, 25 minutes or so. So it's not bad. And thank God there was not much traffic this morning, which is pretty unusual in general. Because around this time frame, it's back to back. Because people come downtown.
Yeah. And but is there like a I guess
The growth of Nashville is such that, everybody knows those off ramps.
So everybody else
yeah,
is
if there's an accident, whatever, people are going to go off ramp, and you're still going to be delayed. So, for the most part, you just stay on 40. And I take 40 to, like 65. So I'm coming east, and so, coming east, and just take 40 to 65, and then I get off at Charlotte.
All right, if we can reconvene. I don't know if some people who were scheduled to public comment have come in or not, so we're going to reopen public comment, and I'm going to ask Hayden to call the names of the folks who were on the list but who were unable to speak earlier, and we'll see if anybody's come in. So Hayden, will you go ahead and call those names?
All right, we'll start with Jeanette Navarrete. Fernando Navarrete. Jorge Covarrubias. Josefina Bruno. Maria Hernandez. Abba Al-Shahiri. Sarah Van Heel. You have up to 2 minutes to speak. Yeah, and please. Yep.
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Sarah Van Heel. I have a son in second grade at Rocketship Northeast Elementary School. I'm here to speak today in support of renewal of Rocketship's charter. My son has been at Rocketship Nashville Northeast since kindergarten, and we love the sense of community that our school provides. The education my son gets here is much different than what I received as a child. When I was in elementary school, we sat in a classroom and were taught by the same teacher all day. I struggled to do well in school, and I really wanted something that was different for my son. The way Rocketship is structured and the different classes that he has throughout the week are more like what I experienced in middle school and high school. He knows how to confidently rotate between his classes each and every day, and I feel that this helps prepare him for that transition to middle school and high school. He is especially fond of the coding and robotics classes. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm nervous. Because we live in a digital world, I believe that these classes are not only keeping him engaged in school now, but are setting him up for future success. I don't know of another school near us that offers these types of programs, and I would hate to see him lose his biggest interest. If this commission chooses not to renew our school's charter and Rocketship has to close, I worry about him thriving in another school. He spent the last few years building close relationships with teachers, friends, and the staff, even our bus monitor we adore. I would really, really hate to see such a great thing come to an end. I understand kids are resilient. However, not everybody is going to adjust in the same way should we lose our school, and I feel that that really hinders the growth and the opportunity of furthering and having the most success educationally for these children. So I do ask that you do vote in favor of renewing our charter. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jamaica Smith. Carla Farfan.
Okay, well, thank you all for being here. We're going to go ahead and resume our agenda with an update from the Business Operations Committee. We'll ask the chairman, Mr. Carter, Michael Carter, to introduce our committee's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At the Business Operations Committee, the committee heard updates on the fiscal year 23 authorizes fee report, the fiscal year 24 budget to actuals, and the fiscal year 25 budget. I would like to recognize Melanie Harwell for these updates. Melanie?
Thank you, Chair Carter. During our Business Operations Committee meeting yesterday, we first discussed the FY23 authorizer fee report. This is a report that we're required to complete annually statutorily. The highlight from this report is that currently we're projecting reverting approximately $300,000 in authorizer fee funds from last year. The one caveat to that being that we are still waiting on the final FY23 revenue true-up from the Department of Education. We're hoping we will receive that by the end of the month, and we'll be able to finalize the refund amount and send that back to our schools. We also updated the committee on FY24 budget to actuals. We have seen a slight decrease in our revenue projections based primarily on the October true-up data. Davidson County had a initial per pupil rate that came in slightly lower than anticipated. So we did see some adjustments to both the projected TISA funding pass-through for our Davidson County schools as well as our authorizer fee. But it is not anything significant or that we can't absorb. We're still tracking to revert a very healthy amount back to the legislature and are staying well within our budget. Finally, we also provided a draft update for FY25. We are not asking for any action by the commission at this point. This is just preliminary estimates based on what we know so far about our growth and what we're thinking our projections will look like next year. So obviously, there's a lot still to be decided about next year. I think one of the key highlights from that is that based on those projections, we should be over 90% sustainable on the authorizer fee alone by that point. So again, there are some nuances. We know that certain portions of the authorizer fee we are typically unable to collect every year. However, we are very optimistic that we could very reasonably be at a point of self-sufficiency in FY26. So I know we're excited to be able to give that update to the legislature and to all of our stakeholders as well.
Any comments or questions for Melanie Harrell? Hearing none, thank you very much for that report, and we will move on to the Rules, Policy, and Governance Committee. I would like to recognize Vice Chair Chris Stewart.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The Rules, Policy, and Governance Committee had a discussion of LEA Policy 6207 for first reading. I would like to recognize General Counsel Ashley Thomas to present this item.
Thank you, Commissioner. During yesterday's committee, we discussed on first reading a new policy for the commission that would be related to out-of-district enrollment. This policy would outline the process the commission will use to manage schools that have chosen to offer enrollment for out-of-district students. That process would include a notification period, signing on to an MOU with the commission, as well as we included language regarding the commission's authority if there is a failure to comply with that policy. As this policy would be up on first reading, the staff is going to continue to communicate with our stakeholders, and I will incorporate the edits from yesterday's meeting before final reading. Commissioner Tudor, unless you had additional information to provide, I think this is ready for a vote.
Thank you, Ashley. Do any commissioners have questions or comments for Ashley? Is there a motion to approve LEA Policy 6207 on first reading?
I so move.
Okay, I'll take that as a move in a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, and the policy is approved for first reading.
Chair Richards and Commissioners, the Rules, Policy, and Governance Committee also discussed Commission Policies 3.600 and 3.700 and LEA Policy 1200 on first and final reading. I would again like to recognize General Counsel Ashley Thomas to present this item.
Thank you. The committee discussed three policies on first and final reading. In the first policy would be the renewal policy. We adjusted the deadline for public hearing to allow staff more time to go through the process for renewals. We updated the school performance framework that was updated to align with changes in the state's accountability protocol. And finally, we introduced language in LEA Policy 1200 to standardize the grievance and complaint policy that is required for all of our schools. There were no edits to those policies, and if there's nothing further, I think these can be taken up as a single vote.
Thank you, Ashley. Are there any commissioners with questions or comments for Ashley? If not, do we have a motion to approve Commission Policies 3.600, 3.700, and LEA Policy 1200 on first and final reading.
I make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. These policies are approved on first reading. All right, our next item is a report from the School Performance and Accountability Committee. Commissioner Patterson, I'd like to recognize you to provide the report.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. The School Performance and Accountability Committee heard updates on the 23-24 school year, and I'd first like to recognize Beth Figueroa to present these updates.
Thank you. During the School Performance and Accountability Committee, we provided the committee with an update regarding the 23-24 school year. Specifically, we discussed our pre-opening process, and at this point in time, schools are continuing through that process. They are well on track for opening beginning this fall. We also discussed site visits and what we're seeing, and so far, the results have been promising. As Trent mentioned, the school sites are doing well. They're data-driven. Buildings are calm, and so that has been a good process, and we will continue to do site visits throughout the rest of the year. We also discussed the interim review for KIPP Antioch College Prep Middle. We'll be visiting that school next month, and at the March committee meeting, we will be reporting out on their interim review. Next, we discussed Bluff City's probationary status, and we are starting to see certain areas where they are starting to improve, but we are meeting with them bi-monthly to track their progress. Next, we talked about renewal process. We have 3 schools that will be going through the 2024 renewal cohort, and that's Lee Neely's Bend, Libertas, and Cornerstone Prep Denver. And so that process will be taking place over the next 12 months. Through our quarterly monitoring, we talked through just improvements overall that we're seeing with our school sites regarding special populations, documentation, licensure, and we will continue to work with our schools as we monitor that. And then just our last few items that we covered were authorizer evaluation. We will be working to implement items that we identified as a part of our self-assessment. And then the school programs and supports team is working through results-based monitoring.
Any questions for Beth from any commissioners or any comments? All right. The committee also heard an amendment petition from Nashville Collegiate Prep. I'd like to recognize Beth and Tess to present this petition amendment.
Thank you, Chair Richards. We had a robust discussion yesterday around the Nashville Collegiate Prep amendment petition at the committee, which included recognizing representatives from Nashville Collegiate Prep to discuss their amendment petition and to engage in a dialogue with the committee and other commissioners. I do want to remind the commissioners that this petition is to have approval to open a high school beginning in school year 25-26. And this is a direct response to feedback that this commission gave to the operator from the October 2023 meeting. And so I would like Beth to walk from a high level about this amendment petition, and then we'll turn it back over to Chair Richards for any further discussion before a vote.
Thank you, Tess. And so as she mentioned during the committee meeting, we discussed the amendment petition for Nashville Collegiate Prep, and this would be to add grade levels 9 through 12 to their current K-8 model, and it would also be to increase their student enrollment amounts to 1,892 in order to accommodate the high school expansion. And so with the addition of the high school level, they would be able to provide a full K-12 continuum model for NCP families and students. As Tess also mentioned, the amendment application was reflective of feedback that was provided by the Commission as a part of the October 2023 appeals process, and specifically it shifts its focus to providing a facility in time for students that are currently 7th graders to just matriculate up into high school beginning the fall of 2025, and this amendment allows them to have that facility completed in time to welcome the students in the fall. In addition, within that amendment petition, we did see significant letters of support, community demand. We see a lot of students out here in support of this amendment. And so at this time, I'm happy to answer any questions related to it.
All right, commissioners, we are going to do this as a vote individually, not as a group vote. But before we do that, is there anyone who has a question or comment on this amendment petition? Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Chair Richards. And I was one of the ones in October that raised some serious concerns just based on what I was seeing. However, yesterday, I think it's a tell of what's possible with the right leadership. And what we saw yesterday from the principal, Eve Carney, who has now taken over, and just the updated data that is in the what's before us for all of this. There is a remarkable change that is taking place. I really believe that they are moving in the right path. We heard yesterday very clear goals that they now have. 3 months ago it was kind of we hope. What I heard yesterday was we're planning, which is different than hope. So I am very confident to vote now where I wasn't a few months ago, just based on what I heard yesterday. So I look forward to supporting this. I know there's still some very minor concerns, especially as it relates to will they move from the letter grade D on up as we want them to. But when you compare that against the cohort of schools around them that are all much lower than that, I can't imagine why, when we have parents looking for an opportunity, we have a school willing to expand to serve the needs of kids in a specific area, why we would not encourage that, especially considering the level of expectations that are now being set for that school. So that's really the only comment from what we heard yesterday. I know everybody can go back and listen to it, but since we did get a chance to ask some questions, we submitted those. Chairman Patterson kind of asked all those questions on behalf of us. It really was encouraging to hear and to see just what has happened in 3 months through Nashville Collegiate Prep.
I would like to make a brief comment. Thank you, Commissioner Smith, for highlighting those points. And I did also think that it was very helpful yesterday to get some more color for some of the questions and concerns that we did have. I think what's also important for the listening and viewing public to know is that this decision does not just happen today. There are a lot of things that the staff evaluates and also we evaluate as a commission and as a committee. And I think it's always important, at least from my perspective, that we look at these types of decisions in really 3 lenses. One is the community support and community need, and it's clearly there. The second is always thinking about a diversification of options for students in all of the communities that we serve across the state. And I think this school provides a unique model that is not in the community. And then third, and arguably the most important, is the academic performance and the academic trajectory. And I think that's probably the question that we wrestle with the most, and it was the toughest given the recent release of the letter grades. But that said, to Commissioner Smith's point, I think it was clear that there is a pathway and a set of targets that would put this school clearly on a path that is either at or above the level that the middle schools and certainly the high schools that are in that area currently are. And so we can't just look at absolute data. We have to also be very mindful of comparative data for a particular community. So I just wanted to echo Commissioner Smith's point, and also on behalf of the committee, just make a bit more detailed explanation on how we came to the decision and also what's important for us as a commission and as a committee. With that, I'd like to move for a vote.
We have another comment. Commissioner Levin.
Yeah, I just want to add to the torture of you waiting for the vote by making a comment. No, I think as opposed to commenting on, unfortunately I missed yesterday, but I did review the material. And the thing that I appreciate most about the action that we will likely take here is the demonstration that we are not a rubber stamp body. I mean, we stopped and asked the right questions last time, and I commend the school for taking our concerns seriously and going back and working on it. And I think for the kids that are here, it's an important lesson that you never give up. You learn from mistakes, or you learn from where you fall short, and you go back and you work harder at it.
and then you get back up to the plate and swing again, to use a baseball analogy. So I think I'm mixing a bunch of metaphors in there, but I'm grateful for the work the commission did and the staff did to work with them to address the concerns we raised at the last meeting, and I think it's the right approach as a governing body.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Well, just to torture you all some more before the vote. A couple things you need to keep in mind. It is our responsibility and a critical part of our mission to authorize high-performing charters. And in doing that, we recognize when we authorize new start charters, that in their first couple years, they might not hit our high expectations, because our expectations are significant. We are looking for TVOS 5 performance, which means 2 years of growth for every year that a student is attending a given school. And that's essential because so many of our startup schools particularly start with enrollments of students who are not working at grade level. And the school has to undertake the responsibility to bring those students up to grade level. And the thing that works really well is when we see that happening, particularly using innovative methods and models that allow children who may not have succeeded in other schools to succeed in these charter schools. That being said, we have to hold Nashville Collegiate Prep accountable going forward. And this is a big undertaking because the year that this high school opens will be your 5th year of your 10-year term. And that is when we do a full interim review. And by that time, we will be looking for the kind of performance that we have seen from other schools and who, you know, the schools we had in yesterday during our panel, a lot of them are hitting it out of the park, and we hope you guys will be too. But the reality of it is that's kind of a for sure hard deadline you're going to see. In the interim, you will be asked to report on your progress. We will want to see execution of the improvements and the commitments that were made yesterday orally, and also the commitments that were made in your amendment petition, which I do want to shout out was a big improvement from the document we reviewed in October. So that being said, I am supportive of this, even though the current performance for this year is not where any of us would want it. It's not necessarily consistent with our commitment to authorizing high-performing schools, but we see a path, and I'm extremely troubled by the alternative because the schools in the area are large and their performance is not even what is promised here, and I think that's important. Lastly, I'm very compassionate for the families of these students that have been enrolled and have been working through the process at Nashville Collegiate Prep. I think it's an act of faith when you make a commitment to your families and then have to go through the process to make that commitment come to light. So I appreciate everybody's work in getting that done. And with that, I'm going to call this matter for a vote. Do I have a motion to approve the amendment petition and amended charter agreement from
Support.
Nashville Collegiate Prep?
Support.
Second.
Hayden, will you call the roll for the vote?
Commissioner Carter.
Aye.
Commissioner Griscom. Commissioner Levine.
Yes.
Commissioner Patterson.
Yes.
Commissioner Eddie Smith.
Yes.
Commissioner Lauren Smith.
Yes.
Commissioner Tudor.
Yes.
Chair Richards.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 8 yeses.
All right. The amendment petition and the amendment to the charter agreement is approved.
Madam Chair, can I make one comment
Yep.
now?
Yes, sir.
I just want to thank our chair of our committee, Terrence Patterson, and the staff for allowing us to have a more in-depth conversation yesterday than typically we might have had. It's much better. And to your point, the questions that you were able to ask, the responses we got, I think allowed us to be able to get a lot more information to what Commissioner Smith was saying than typically we might be able to do. And it's much more than just, while the public comment session is very important, I think, and I appreciate the work that was done to make sure that we could have a much more complete record and understanding. So I just wanted to to say that publicly and say thank you all for doing that, because I think it was very helpful.
Thank you, and I think all of us join in those thanks for Commissioner Patterson. All right, moving forward, we have a final matter for this committee, and I'll turn it over to Chairman Patterson to present that.
Great, thank you. The final item that the committee heard was an amendment petition for Rutherford Collegiate Prep, and I'd again like to recognize Beth and Tess to present this petition.
Thank you, Chair Patterson. And I do want to actually, building off of Commissioner Griscom's statement, I think it is a real distinction in process between kind of what we are constrained with via the New Start appeal process and what statute and rule really confines us to what's on the record. And that is both a very positive thing because we fulfill our statutory charge, but when we have an amendment petition for our own school, we can have so much more of a dialogue with them throughout the process, I think, to get to the right point. So I just wanted to make that distinction as we go into our next amendment petition for Rutherford Collegiate Prep. So this petition is to expand the enrollment capacity. The school is currently approved for a K-8, and so this would not change their grade configuration, but would allow them to ultimately enroll additional students. I do want to note that yesterday we had although briefer discussion, we did have a good discussion about Rutherford Collegiate Prep and just the sheer volume of applications and desire in Rutherford County that we heard. I got updated information this morning that they have over 1,000 applications for the school. Which is just unbelievable. So I do want to pass it to Beth to just talk through a little bit of the specifics about the amendment petition before we pass it back to Chair Richards.
Tess. And so, as she mentioned, within the amendment petition for Rutherford Collegiate Prep, they are requesting to increase their maximum enrollment from 770 students to 965 students. Over the past 2 years, the operator has been diligently searching for a place to be located, and they were able to find some land where they are currently under construction on a property. It is located within the Blackman Stewart's Creek School Zone, and as we heard today, there is significant overcrowding that is occurring within that district just due to the significant population growth. And so it is with this amendment petition that they view the ability to really help support families in Rutherford County by having the additional students and hopefully alleviating some of the overcrowding that is taking place down in Rutherford County. Since they have been opening their application process, as Tess mentioned, they have over 1,000 applications. They've filled I believe all but one grade level. They will have a significant wait list. And so the facility is on track to be completed in August of 2024, where they will welcome students in grades K through 6, and then they'll grow one grade level per year until serving all students in grades K through 8. And I think that's the last thing that I would mention is for new schools, we are typically, I don't want to say concerned, but their ability to fill seats is always something that we are very cognizant and aware of. It's something we talk with all of our schools during pre-opening, and just based on the momentum and support that they've received thus far, there's confidence that they will open fully enrolled in the fall.
Thank you, Tess and Beth. Are there any questions or comments by commissioners? Commissioner Smith.
I know, it's surprising, isn't it? And I want to be careful here because I'm, never want to compare one to the other. So I'm just going to title this The Tale of Two Systems. When we look at Rutherford Collegiate Prep, when we were going through it yesterday, Trent was sitting right here. And he was able to show me just in kindergarten. I believe their initial, they were expecting about 120 kids in kindergarten, and they already had over 220. That was based on 800 applications, and they're now at 1,000. So I think there's some tremendous need in this community. But then we saw a county commissioner and someone from the Rutherford County school system, one of their board members, here advocating on behalf of them needing help because of the sheer growth in the county. comparing that to where they were just a couple of years ago, and the fact that they see the value, they see the need, that there is someone that can help them, compared to what we will be addressing a little later on today, of a system that's just no at every turn. So I really just want to commend, Rutherford County, everything that's going on there. I also never want to not take the opportunity, again, just to brag on Rutherford County Schools, because what we've seen is an absolute remarkable change in just their charter school appeal process and how well they're now running that down there, the feedback they took from just a couple of years ago. So I look forward to this. I honestly look forward to some great things coming out of this school in Rutherford County. We heard about, I think they said 128 portable classrooms. I mean, think about this for a second. We're right here is kind of Tornado Alley in Tennessee, and portable classrooms are the least safest place for kids to be in the springtime. So anything that we can do to help that school system keep kids from having to be in portables, I applaud. I also am very confident in what I know we voted on in the past of what they're planning to do. So I look forward to supporting this, but I just kind of wanted to, on the record, just really look at not just support of parents, but the support of elected officials in that county now saying, please help us help these kids.
Other commissioners? Okay, hearing none. I just have one brief comment. I'm very supportive of this amendment. It is critical that as this school opens and is operated, that you remain mindful of our performance expectations, because at this point in time, we have no record, because the school hasn't opened yet, as to how you're going to perform. And while we're all cautiously optimistic, we're going to trust but verify. So please keep that in mind, because we will be looking for your performance starting next fall, and we hope your construction goes well. And with that, do I have a motion? So moved. Okay.
Second.
All right. This is to approve the amendment petition and amended charter agreement from Rutherford Collegiate Prep. And Hayden, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Carter.
Aye.
Commissioner Griscom.
Aye.
Commissioner Levine.
Yes.
Commissioner Patterson.
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
Eddie Smith. Commissioner Lauren Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Tudor.
Aye.
Chairman Richards.
Aye.
Madam Chair, you have 8 ayes.
All right, that amendment is approved. Thank you all for your attention and coming. All right, the next item on our agenda are charter agreements requiring approval from American Classical Academy Jackson Madison, Cornerstone Prep Leicester, Empower Memphis, Invictus Nashville, and KIPP Antioch Global Middle School. I'd like to recognize General Counsel Ashley Thomas to present these.
Thank you, Chairman. As a part of the pre-opening process, I've worked with the operators ahead of today's meeting to prepare opening documents for your approval. Each agreement includes the mission-specific goal and then proposed waivers for each school. They will be exhibits to those agreements, and I'd like to go through and highlight specifics of the 5 proposed charter agreements before you. Some items will be repetitive from the SPA committee meeting yesterday, but I think it's, it doesn't hurt to mention it again. So first is American Classical Academy Jackson Madison. They are approved to open serving grades K through 6. You'll note that this operator has exercised a statutory right to delay opening for 1 year until 2025. Cornerstone Prep Leicester comes to the commission as an ASD transition school out of Shelby County, and they are currently serving grades K through 5. I would note here that the operators are in negotiation with Memphis Shelby County to acquire that building. As, like I said, they're coming out of the ASD, and statute requires them to give the building back unless there is a sale that is handled. That is not something that the commission gets involved in, but I did want to note that for the commission. Empower Memphis is approved to open, serving grades K through 2, and they'll offer an elementary career and technical education academic model. This school will be located in the Orange Mound, South Memphis area, and we'll be following their enrollment closely. As we heard through the appeal process, that area, they're dealing with a saturation issue in that area. On the next slide, you'll see Invictus Nashville. It'll be located here in Davidson County. Their initial enrollment are grades K1. This will be the second Montessori model operator in the Commission's portfolio. They are working to secure a facility, as we heard yesterday, and the authorizing team will be monitoring that progress closely. And then finally, KIPP Antioch Global Middle was approved by the Commission in October of 2022. The school delayed opening for 1 year, and they are set to open this fall, serving grades 5 and 6. The agreement that is before the Commission reflects changes in the enrollment and facility that will require Commission approval. The operators do plan to open in a smaller facility, and they are changing their enrollment number to 264. I added this language of the addendum. It will include a notification when they move from a temporary facility to their permanent facility, and then when they need to increase their enrollment. Those terms are already included in the charter agreement. And so, Chair Richards, I think this can be taken up as a single vote, but I'm happy to answer any questions about the agreements.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from any commissioner? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the charter agreements for American Classical Academy Jackson Madison, Cornerstone Prep Leicester, Empower Memphis, Invictus Nashville, and KIPP Antioch Global Middle School?
Support.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right, that motion has been approved and those agreements are approved. All right, we're going to move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the renewal application appeal from Rocket Ship Nashville Northeast Elementary. A representative of each appeal has the opportunity to submit a written statement or be recognized for up to 2 minutes in advance of the Commission's discussion on the appeal. Hayden, can you please read any statements received and introduce any representatives who are here today?
We have a representative from both parties. First, from MMPS, Sharika Roby Grant. You have up to 2 minutes.
To the members of the Tennessee Public Charter Commission, we urge you to reject the Executive Director's findings. The MMPS denial of Rocket Ship Northeast renewal application was contrary to the best interests of students, the local education agency, or the community. While the Executive Director's report places Rocket Ship's success under a microscope, it is conveniently silent as to its many deficiencies. For example, the Executive Director incorrectly contends the school has demonstrated strong teacher retention. This is contrary to the evidence in the record. In fact, the data shows that Rocket Ship did not show significant progress toward the goals outlined in the charter agreement. Even more concerning is that the recommendation shrugged off the concerns raised by the Commission on the January 11th public hearing regarding the school's alarming chronic absenteeism rates. Despite its acknowledgement that the renewal application failed to include any future planning addressing chronic absenteeism, the Executive Director essentially asked the school to promise to fix it. The Commission's own review team noted the lack of information contained in Rocket Ship's renewal application in certain areas. It was this lack of information that prevented the MMPS review team from awarding a meets or exceeds the requirements in any category of the application. Since the renewal application serves as the framework for the charter agreement, it is unclear what Rocket Ship's next agreement would include. For that reason, MMPS could not blindly place the education and well-being of its students into the school's hands. What is clear is that MMPS is ready and able to serve Rocket Ship students should the Commission uphold the board's decision. We request that the Charter Commission uphold the MMPS's board's decision to deny the renewal application for Rocket Ship Northeast.
Thank you.
And on behalf of Rocket Ship Nashville Northeast, we have Will Hill.
Executive Director, staff, Executive Director Stovall and team. First, I want to thank Executive Director Stovall and her staff for running a fair, professional, and thorough appeal process. I cannot commend you enough for actually asking the right questions, for applying the rubric, and for listening thoughtfully as we walk through this process together. So our sincere gratitude for this. None of the previous performance evaluation reports indicated concerns that the M&P has sent to us over an 8-year period of time. As you can imagine, this unexpected appeal denial was deeply disruptive and caused great concern for our families and staff. So we appreciate this process has been both expeditious and fair. Many socioeconomically disadvantaged students of color come to Rocketship academically behind where they should be, and we help them catch up through accelerated growth. As noted in the Executive Director's recommendation report, there is clear evidence that our model is working. Since Rocketship Nashville Northeast opened in 2014, the school has received a TBOS rating of 4 or 5 every single year that it has been open. From an achievement standpoint, Rocketship Nashville Northeast Elementary has consistently been one of the highest performing schools in the Maplewood cluster. Notably, our school was designated the Reward School, the state's highest honor in 2019, the same year that the neighborhood school was placed on the priority list. Rather than consider our school's entire 10-year track record and the positive impact we're having on our students and on our community, the MMPS Board of Education based this decision on limited and in some instances inaccurate information. The findings in the Executive Director Stovall's report validate our concerns with the MMPS renewal process. Her report states the operator had no opportunity to correct the record or provide additional information. We believe the MMPS Board of Education made a reckless decision without regard to the disruption and harm our school's closure will cause to more than 500 students. We appreciate this commission's careful consideration of the Executive Director's recommendation, and we ask you to vote in approval of our appeal. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tess Stovall will now present the Executive Director's recommendation. You're recognized.
Thank you, Chair Richards. So, in accordance with Tennessee Code Annotated 4913-121, a local board's decision to deny a renewal application may be appealed to the Tennessee Public Charter School Commission. In an appeal, it is important to note that the commission has two options: to either affirm the decision of the local board of education to deny renewal. In that case, the school would close at the end of their charter term. Or the commission, if it finds that the local board's decision was contrary to the best interests of students, the school district, or the community, the commission may approve the renewal application. The school would then continue to operate under a new 10-year charter term, and the commission would be the authorizer. Unlike in a New Start appeal process, there is no 30-day reconciliation period for the operator and the local board of education. So because this distinction is in statute, I did want to make sure before I dive into my recommendation that you all understand this as a part of the discussion. So in the case that we are discussing right now, on November 28, 2023, the Metro Nashville Board of Education denied the renewal of Rocketship Nashville Northeast Elementary School. And on December the 8th, Rocketship Nashville then appealed that decision to the commission. The commission assembled a review committee to review the renewal application. We held a capacity interview with the operator, and the review committee issued a review committee report, which I then considered in making my recommendation to the commission. In addition, we also held a public hearing where we heard from both Metro Nashville Public Schools and Rocketship Northeast, as well as accepted public comments. It is based on the procedural history, the findings of fact and analysis, the review committee report, and our own due diligence that it is my recommendation that the commission overturn the denial of the renewal application and ultimately approve the renewal of Rocketship Nashville Northeast. I would like to go into a little further detail about my analysis before I turn it back over for discussion. So on November 28th, the Office of Charter Schools for Metro Nashville Public Schools presented a recommendation to MNPS Board of Education. The review committee that MNPS put together made a recommendation to renew the renewal application with additional supports to provide the charter operator in a new charter term. Ultimately, the Board of Education voted to deny the renewal application. As we know, a local board and neither the commission is bound by that recommendation. In that denial, the Board of Education cited, quote, evidence that the data did not make significant progress towards the goals outlined in the original charter application. 2, that an April 8th, 2022 memo of noncompliance regarding ESSER 2 and ESSER Entitle II funds was of concern, and a lack of evidence that the future planning will provide the proper foundations of operations moving forward. As a part of its renewal process and in accordance with statute, Metro Nashville provided Rocketship Northeast with a cumulative performance report that did not note any specific academic concerns and explicitly stated that the district had no major concerns around the operations or financial health of the school. The district then utilized a review committee to review the renewal application. And ultimately, it was the review committee's recommendation, as I stated, to renew the agreement for Rocketship Northeast. Academically, when we looked at the record, we found that Rocketship Northeast has, generally over the term of its charter, met or exceeded the performance of other Metro Nashville public schools in the Maplewood cluster in both achievement and growth. I do think it is important to note that the area of the Maplewood cluster is one of the highest and kind of most disadvantaged area of Nashville. And so when we're looking at straight achievement, that the schools in that area are relatively low in terms of achievement. When we look at growth, Rocketship Northeast has pretty consistently demonstrated both an ability to outperform those area elementary schools as well as relatively high growth for those students. During the public hearing, MNPS indicated that the charge of a public charter school is to meet or exceed the district schools and not just the schools geographically in the area. And while I do agree that an overall district comparison is important, that's something that we consider in our performance framework, it's not the only consideration that we have in making decisions, particularly when it comes to renewal. And as I stated, I found that the academic results evidence that Rocketship Northeast has been a high-quality option for students and families in the Maplewood cluster. I also found that the Rocketship Northeast, in terms of the record, provided sufficient evidence of operational achievement that warrants renewal of a charter school. I agree with our commission's review committee report that it also met standard for renewal. The application in the review of the audit showed no audit concerns, and that the school generally met fiscal management standards even on the district's review of their audits and their performance framework. The one incident that was noted ultimately in the board's recommendation to deny was from April of 2022, and it revolved federal reimbursement processes. At the public hearing, I asked both parties if this issue had been resolved. It had, and it resulted in no notices of concern or further concern beyond the April of 2022. As I noted in my recommendation, that the future planning section of the application was limited, but we, through a renewal process, have the opportunity via the public hearing and a capacity interview to ask for additional information from the operator, as did Metro Nashville. In accordance with statute, an authorizer's renewal decision is not limited to a written application. In statute, it says a renewal decision shall, quote, be based on the renewal application, a school's annual performance reports, and a cumulative performance report. The district and the commission's review committee conducted capacity interviews to gather additional information leading up to a renewal recommendation. And it was, in fact, through our review committee process that we had substantial conversations about what those goals for the school would look like if renewed. So therefore, based on the entirety of the record through our process, I concluded that the school does have sufficient future planning such that we should recommend renewal of the school. And finally, I want to note the public support that has been demonstrated for Rocket Ship Northeast. The operator has had one of the strongest public efforts of support that I have seen in an appeal process. Parents and community members gave impassioned pleas for the school to be renewed. And while parent support is only part of the conversation when it comes to a charter school, I recognize that a school that enrolls over 500 students is a school that the community desires to attend. And it is for the reasons that are in my recommendation in the record and what I discussed today that I believe that the decision to deny the renewal application was contrary to the best interests of the students, the LEA, of the community. And therefore, I do recommend that the commission overturn the decision and approve the renewal application for Rocket Ship Nashville Northeast. And I'm happy to take any further questions. I'll turn it back over to Chair Richards.
Are there any questions for Tess? Does anyone have any comment on this matter? Yes. Please, Commissioner Smith.
Tess, you just spoke about enrollment. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Are they meeting their enrollment goals? Do they have a wait list? Can you speak about that a little bit?
Thank you for that question. They have pretty regularly demonstrated high enrollment at their school. Somewhere between, and Beth can correct me, or Trent, it was, somewhere between 450 and 500. They did have a dip a couple of years ago, particularly related to the pandemic, but have subsequently increased the enrollment back to about 500. One of the kind of underlying concerns that was raised by the district was the fact that they were not meeting their overall enrollment at their charter agreement. However, they're not meeting their overall enrollment at their charter agreement because the building capacity is not where the enrollment of the charter agreement says that they will be. And so they had actually asked to reduce their overall enrollment in a renewal, and this was cited as a concern, which when we reviewed it and had the discussion with the operator, would understand why you would want to amend your agreement to align to what your building capacity is. They've been able to, it's a facility that they use and freshly built at the beginning of the school in order to really be able to support their students in their model. And so one of the things that we did have conversations about is the fact that the school has been non-renewed by a district and is now going through the appeal process. They may see families that have decided to leave because of the uncertainty around what does this look like. And so we did have conversations about the need to both communicate with parents pending a commission decision and also make sure that their recruitment and re-enrollment process is strong moving into a new charter term, if that's what the commission goes for, to ensure that the enrollment remains high for their overall school.
Other questions or comments? Commissioner Eddie Smith.
Thank you, Chair. And first of all, yesterday we had someone from MNPS here to kind of walk us through. So I want to couch my comments here very carefully because their MNPS's own review committee recommended approval. I believe that the charter office work did its due diligence. The concern for me is really that MNPS board based a decision on lack of facts, lack of substance, to the point that honestly I would recommend that the charter school office, while I know they work for them, go back and say, Emperor, you have no clothes on here. It's so thin in what they decided to use to deny that it really looks, for all intents and purposes, of just absolutely targeted punitive action is what this is starting to feel like. So, with that being said, I'm curious why we even got here because, yes, the charter office, the recommendation came in to renew. That was ignored. The applicant wasn't given a chance to correct any of the factual errors that they were using. That's not following the process. There's a lot of things here. So I guess the question is, what can we do to help Metro Nashville fix some of these things so that they're actually looking at things that should be helping them make a decision and not pulling things out that are immaterial in the discussion. So that's where my mind is going, because I always try and come up with how do we help people. Because again, we saw just a minute ago a district that took the feedback and is doing remarkable work now. How can we help this one move down that road so that we don't end up with these types of targeted approach? Tess, I want to commend you and your staff. Thank you for this record, because it really did help clear up a lot of questions around just the process and why we're here. I still just am curious why they chose to pick things out that really weren't even a finding or of an area of concern. That's really, did you ever get any answer as to why they chose to use that, other than just what they could find to rationalize their decision?
Thank you for that question. So we did dig into, at the public hearing, the reasons that the board used in their decision-making process. And, I think where we really pushed on the line of questioning is that in accordance with quality authorizing standards, which, as we had a long discussion about, we are all held to, that a renewal decision in order for a quality authorizer should not come as a surprise. Everyone should know and have an opportunity to correct the record, provide additional information in order for the decision makers to make a high quality decision. And so I do think that their process included pieces of the puzzle, but ultimately it ended up where there were some things that were included in the record for the Board of Education that had been resolved that were not aligned to the cumulative performance report. And if a decision maker is given kind of half of the information, then they're going to move forward with that half of the information. And so although we are not responsible for evaluating the processes, that's the State Board of Education, I think we continue to provide feedback via our process on ways that the process could have been improved and ways that the record could have been built out further to support a decision. I think you all have demonstrated that when a district follows a process, has a full record, you are very willing to support their decision-making process.
Commissioner Tudor?
I need a little bit of confirmation on the legal side of things. So, and I believe you pointed this out in your analysis and recommendation, but for a new start, it's a 2-element test, meets or exceeds or best interest. Here, for renewal, it's actually different, and I think this is a very important distinction. We are not asked about that first element. It's a 1-element test. Now, granted, it's a very broad question. Do we believe that the district's decision is contrary, to the best interests of the LEA, the community, or the students? That is the question I am being asked to answer today for this renewal, correct?
And yes, I would like our general counsel to speak directly to that.
Thank you for that question, Commissioner Tudor. You're correct. The language of the statute says that if the commission finds that the local Board of Education's decision to deny renewal of a charter agreement is contrary to the best interests of the students, LEA, or community, then the commission shall approve the renewal application and the commission shall become the authorizer. You're correct.
And I think that's important for us to remember. I think that's important for the district to remember. We don't write the statutes. The women and men up the hill do, and that's our task today. I appreciate, nonetheless, how thorough the evaluation was, that we still were able to review, the analysis on meets or exceeds. But that is not what I'm being asked. I'm being asked about the best interest. So just wanted to make that clear, make sure I had the correct understanding. I appreciate the clarification.
Are there any other comments, or Commissioner Levine?
Well, first of all, I appreciate the representative of the school district coming and addressing us directly. And I hope, the very, I think, appropriate guidance back in your report, obviously they decide for themselves how they want to manage their process. But it would be helpful, I think, and fair for any existing school that's teaching children to be given all the information, full transparency, and an opportunity to address those issues. And then certainly respect the decision the school district would make at that point, and as we perform our responsibility. But this is the school we visited, correct? Or was it a different rocket ship that we went to?
It's a different rocket ship that we did not visit the school, but it's overseen by the same network here in Nashville.
I was impressed when we went there. I saw students that were engaged. I saw faculty. In fact, I remember talking to a faculty member who had been in the public schools for her whole career, and I asked her why she chose to be working at this particular charter school, and she said she was, it was the involvement that they have back and forth with the parents. Every day they're reporting on, what these kids are doing and what progress they're making. And so there's a lot more to this than bricks and mortar. And I think so I appreciate the parents and families that are here today. And again, I'll just repeat, I do appreciate the fact that while we might have a disagreement on this, that the school district representative did come and did address us directly.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions? Okay, hearing none. We will now be voting on the Rocket Ship Nashville Northeast Elementary Renewal Appeal. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution and recommendation of our executive director to overturn the denial of Rocket Ship Nashville Northeast Elementary's renewal application? Second. Call the roll.
Commissioner Carter.
Aye.
Commissioner Griscom.
Yes.
Commissioner Levine.
Yes.
Commissioner Patterson.
Yes.
Commissioner Eddie Smith.
Yes.
Commissioner Lauren Smith.
Yes.
Commissioner Tudor.
Aye.
Commissioner Richards.
Aye.
Madam Chair, you have 8 ayes.
Thank you. The overturning bill has been adopted. All right. Well, we're getting on down the road. The final items on our agenda are the renewal applications from Lester Prep and Promise Academy Spring Hill. I'd like to recognize Tess Stovall and Beth Figueroa to present these applications.
Thank you, Chair Richards. And now we get to talk about our own renewals. So looking forward to those presentations before you today. So I thought before I dig into the Lester Prep recommendation, I can walk through our process that we took for both schools. So as we just discussed, in accordance with statute, a charter operator that's in the 9th year of their charter term can apply for renewal with their authorizer. Authorizers must decide before February 1st of a school's 10th year whether or not a school is renewed. So today we have 2 renewal applications that are before you, Lester Prep and Promise Academy Spring Hill. Both of these schools are located within the geographic district of Memphis-Shelby County, and both of them were former Achievement School District schools that were approved to transition to the commission. In accordance with statute, the commission did provide cumulative performance reports for both of them that were based on publicly reported accountability data. The schools also completed a renewal application in which they responded to both the application and the cumulative performance report. Our process involved assembling a review committee to review the renewal application. We held a capacity interview with both schools, and we also conducted a renewal site visit in September. It was based on this information that the review committee built its report that's incorporated within my recommendation. Finally, we also held public hearings with both schools in November where we heard directly from the schools. We had an opportunity to ask final questions of the schools as well as receive public comment. And it is based on this process, which at this point has gone through more than a year, that these recommendations are before you today. So first I want to talk about Lester Prep. So Lester Prep is a middle school that's operated by Capstone Education Group. It is located in the Binghamton area of Memphis. Ultimately, it is my recommendation that we approve Lester Prep for a new 10-year charter term under the commission. Capstone acquired Lester Prep in school year 14-15 as a part of the Achievement School District. At the time, the Lester Prep Middle School was one of the lowest performing middle schools in the state. And while school turnaround itself is not straightforward and often has mixed results over time, ultimately Capstone demonstrated a commitment to responding to academic data. And ultimately, the school earned priority exit status and the ability to apply directly to the commission for continued authorization. From an operational and financial standpoint, the school and network are in good standing. At this point, Lester Prep has been under the commission authorization going on 2 years. So we've had an opportunity to work very closely with the operator. We now oversee soon to be 4 of the Capstone schools. They have begun the process of facility negotiations with Memphis-Shelby County schools. And we did confirm in a public hearing that the network has the cash reserves to purchase the facility should that get to the point where they're able to. Ultimately, based on the totality of the information in this renewal, I determined that this school is a quality option for students in the Binghamton area. The network has demonstrated a commitment to the turnaround work and continued turnaround work as over the course of a 10-plus charter term. And ultimately is my recommendation that the commission grant a new 10-year charter term for Lester Prep. And at this time, I will turn it over to Chair Richards for any questions.
Do any commissioners have questions or comments on this Lester Prep renewal? None. I'd like to know if we have a motion to approve the renewal application for Lester Prep.
So move.
Second.
All right. Hayden, let's take a roll call vote on this, please.
Commissioner Carter.
Aye.
Commissioner Griscom. Yes. Commissioner Levine.
Yes.
Commissioner Patterson.
Yes.
Commissioner Eddie Smith. Yes. Commissioner Lauren Smith.
Yes.
Commissioner Tudor.
Aye.
Chair Richards.
Aye.
Madam Chair, you have 8 ayes.
Thank you. This renewal's been approved, and we will now ask Tess and Beth to present the Promise Academy Spring Hill application.
Thank you so much. I am here for the final agenda item to present the Promise Academy Spring Hill renewal application. So Promise Academy is an elementary school operated, Spring Hill is operated by Promise Academy Network in the Spring Hill area of Memphis. And ultimately, it is based on the cumulative record, the review committee's report, our site visit, and our public hearing that I am recommending a new 10-year charter term for Promise Academy. Similar to Lester Prep, Promise Academy Network acquired and started operating the school in school year 13-14 as a part of the Achievement School District. And they've worked diligently over those last 10 years to improve the school academically and have a significant network from an operational and financial perspective. Again, we know that turnaround work is not straightforward. But particularly, I commend the board and the network for coming in and recognizing that they internally needed some restructuring and have made significant organizational restructuring to better support the school and their other school moving forward. Ultimately, the school's performance earned them priority exit status, which allowed the school to apply directly to the commission for continued authorization. The school has only been under commission authorization and in our portfolio since in this school year. And it's through that school year we've had the opportunity to work very closely with them and to get to know their team and their staff. From an organizational and operational standpoint, again, they've adapted to make shift to better support the school's performance. So there's been an organizational restructure and moving some of the school-based positions to a network base to streamline the thinking across both of their schools and their portfolio. They're also providing more robust teaching and coaching supports. I do think it's important to note that many of the members of their network leadership team have a significant tenure with the organization. And even with the restructuring that happened over the last 18 months, the school was able to retain 86% of their teachers. I do want to note one concern that was raised throughout the renewal process was with regard to the FY22 audit. It had not been submitted by the time we got to the public hearing, and so a big question that we had for the operator was the status of the FY22 audit. We did end up receiving the audit December 22nd, 2023. However, that was close to 1 year after the statutory deadline. I recognize that many of the issues were to a certain extent outside of the school's control because they were relying on the audit firm. However, it is critically important, as I note in my recommendation, that authorizers have as up to date as possible financial information from schools. That audit did note that there were concerns about cash reserves for the school. Many of those concerns were related to delayed reimbursements from the Achievement School District and not necessarily indicative of a lack of fiscal responsibility. And so in order to provide you all with a full record, we did ask the school for updated financials as of December 31st. And we noted that their days cash on hand as of December 31st, 2023 was back up to 59 days. So that would meet the commission standard in terms of the framework, and also provides me additional comfort in making this recommendation to you that we have the full sense of both academic, operational, and financial standards and operations for the school. I just want to note, really appreciate Dr. Washington being here today, as well as dealing with our pestering around the audit. As Chair Richards know, we discussed it was a Christmas miracle, but we did it, and because we really wanted to make sure that we had that audit in hand and had updated financials to provide a thorough recommendation to the commission. So ultimately, it is my recommendation to provide Promise Academy Spring Hill with a new 10-year charter term.
Okay, thank you. Are there any further questions or comments? Yes, Commissioner Patterson.
I just wanted to highlight and affirm Tessa's comments regarding the work not only of Promise Academy but the leadership team of Dr. Washington. They've certainly done great work, not just with Promise, but really with the entire charter community in terms of supporting teachers, bringing new teachers to the market, and continue to support the sector. So I just want to acknowledge that and allow my commissioners that information to know that this school and this network is truly an important asset for Memphis and the greater Shelby County community.
Thank you. Dr. Washington, your audit report is past due. We need you to get the one for 23 done. I do not want to go through this again. I know we have your firm commitment, so I'm just you're here and we appreciate you being here. That being said, do I have a motion to approve the renewal application for Promise Academy Spring Hill?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Hayden, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Carter.
Aye.
Commissioner Griscom.
Yes.
Commissioner Levine.
Yes.
Commissioner Patterson.
Yes.
Commissioner Eddie Smith. Commissioner Lauren Smith.
Yes.
Commissioner Tudor.
Aye.
Chair Richards.
Aye.
Madam Chair, you have 8 ayes.
All right, that renewal application is approved. All right. Well,
Overwhelming audience
yeah,
response.
the audience has departed, which is either a really good sign or it just tells us we're at the end of our agenda. I do want to express my personal appreciation to all the commissioners for the work that people put in to get us to this meeting process. And I want to say thank you to the staff, particularly all of you who are hanging out in the back of the room. We can't begin to do this without the outstanding work of our staff. You do a terrific job of being, not only getting to the heart of the matter, but making sure that we understand the details that are important to make a good decision, and we are very grateful for that. I will note that the next meeting is scheduled for March 22nd, 2024, and just remind you, as we've noted, that we have a special called meeting on February 26th, 2024. Are there any final comments from commissioners before I entertain a motion to adjourn?
Aye.
Thank you all.